Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. Today marks day 4 of Live Miss 20. Sorry about that. Let me start over, you guys. Today marks day 4 of Live Miss 2024 on the Power Network. Tonight, we are diving into the world of woke hipster culture on Parawomen Radio. Yes, because nothing screams true crime like annoying woke people. But who doesn't love a good dose of sarcasm with their crime stories? I'm Team Gen X. Need I say more? Ezra McCandless, the woke murderous poet in tonight's crime story, managed to stir up quite the scandal by unaliving her boyfriend's best friend, a man she had been having an affair with behind her boyfriend's back. And let's not forget about her other affair with her boyfriend's other best friend, but somehow that guy made it out alive. But, I digress. On March 22nd, 2018, poor Alex Woodworth fell victim to a vicious attack, sustaining 16 wounds to various parts of his body, which was found inside of McCandless's car. 2 weeks later, McCandless was finally caught and charged with first-degree intentional red rum. Despite being sentenced to life in prison in 2020, McCandless still insists on her innocence. She's been using her social media platform to sell art and rally support for her latest appeal. Does that sound fair or even remotely interesting to you? I hope so. I'm going to roll some credits while we wait for the rest of the Power crew to roll in. Shout out to my Dragonflies and to my Power Replay crew. Have you heard of this case before?
Please welcome to Parawomen Radio. I'm Amy.
Carefully strumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into our fire. If heaven had wings, I would steal them and fly away with you for a while. Hearing the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you.
I can't believe it's Wednesday. And my microphone, I need to fix it. It is falling. So I just need a uno momento because it's backwards too for some reason. How's everyone doing? Oof. Hold on. It's going to take me a moment because the whole thing came off. I almost bought a new microphone today, but I didn't. I had a $20 coupon, but I couldn't find a mic I liked. So we're still dealing with this monster. But I guess I'm just grateful I have a mic. Okay. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that'll do it for me. All right. Okay. Oh no, it fell again. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to throw up a quick video and just flip this baby over and fix it really quick. Sorry, guys. And if you're not subscribed, why are you not subscribed? I would really, really, really love to have you as a Power subscriber. If you really like my content, be sure to become a Dragonfly, and that's our membership, and it's $2.99 a month. I release all my videos early. We have special emojis over in the chat room. I kind of share things ahead of time with my Dragonflies, and I go live sometimes just for the Dragonflies. It's a way that I can support you guys and give you more content, and it's a way for you to support our channel. It's $2.99 a month, and I would love to have you. Yes, I would love to have you as a Dragonfly. That's our membership program on YouTube. And today we're coming to you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Hi, everyone. We've got some exciting shows coming up for our Livemas. We're going live every single day in the 25 days leading up to Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, we'll just consider it the holidays. I'm old school. I've called it Christmas, even if I don't consider myself a Christian. I consider it Christmas. And in fact, I love saying the word Christmas. It's such a fun, and I have such good feelings towards Christmas. So it's the 25 days leading up to Christmas. Let me get my screen together and get things going. Chris C says, I haven't heard about this one yet. You're excited? Oh yeah. This one was a good one. She's annoying though. This whole woke culture annoys me though. And what annoys me is they've gone too far. I mean, they've made it so that doing the right thing is annoying, and that's annoying in my opinion. And yeah. So, but she's a woke hipster, and she is somebody who loves a triangle as well. Who else do we know loves a triangle? And her victim is Alex Woodworth. And she punctured him 16 times in the head, neck, groin, and torso. And this happened in March 22nd of 2018. So what we like to do here is I will take us through the story, telling it using various forms of media. I usually don't play everything in its entirety, or I stop and start things, or I talk over it, or I won't read everything in its entirety, but I will put the links to everything that we view during today's show in the YouTube show notes. So it's over in the YouTube, in the description, in the show notes. There will be the link for everything. And we do this for fair play use. And we also do it because our idea of fair play is like not showing everything in its entirety, getting it all, juicy and ready for you to go over and look at, because there's other creators that have put their time and energy into it. And we want to give everybody their flowers here. So we're going to first take a look at true crime recaps. They're going to lead us into the story. But first, let me say hi to everybody in chat. Hi, Chris C. I hope you're feeling better. At least you're upright or semi-upright, right? Chris C hasn't been feeling good. And hi, Billy Sick. Billy says, Chris C, I can't believe I didn't know about this. I owe you one. Yeah, it's a really good, you're gonna really be interested. This is actually a case that I'm considering covering more than once during Livemas, because it's a really good trial. It has the whole trial. I think Court TV has the whole trial, and it's just a really good trial to watch. And I am considering doing that during our Livemas. I'm trying to think of 2 trials to follow. I was thinking about doing this one, and I also thought about the Darrell Brooks trial, because I always wanted to follow that trial, get into it, and do all of the trial with you guys, but I just haven't. And Livemas is the perfect time since we're going to be doing a live a day. Hi, Paula. I just watched a bunch of stuff about this case. I can't wait to hear. Oh, I'm so glad that you guys are happy to hear about this tonight. And hi, Heavenly. You watched some of the trial, but it's been a while. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. I think I said be sure to give this live a thumbs up, didn't I? If not, be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps us go out onto the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help us out.
When Ezra McCandless showed up at Don Sippel's door in Springbrook, Wisconsin, the unsuspecting dairy farmer didn't know that he was playing a role in a twisted game that had already left Alex Woodworth dead.
This is Don Sippel calling, and I have a young lady that just came to my house, and somebody attacked her, and she needs a doctor. Her clothes are all torn, and...
Is she injured?
Yeah, she's injured. Her mouth is kind of got some blood around it, and her clothes are all torn.
Okay, and she's by herself?
She's by herself. She walked to my house here just recently.
Okay, and can you ask her what her name is?
Just hold on a second.
Okay.
What's your name, ma'am? What? You don't know? She's in kind of bad shape. She just says she don't know.
Okay, let me put you on hold. Do not hang up. I'm going to start some help, okay?
Sure.
I'm Chris, and this episode of True Crime Recaps is brought to you by Audible. And right now, they're offering story. Police found Alex's body on March 23rd, 2018. He was hanging out of the back seat of Ezra's car. It was stuck in the mud in a remote part of Don Sippel's dairy farm. Alex was stabbed 16 times in the head, neck, and stomach. Most of the blood was found outside the car. He didn't have any defensive wounds, which led police to believe that he'd been ambushed while his back was turned. The deep stab wound in the back of his head supported their theory. He was found with a scarf around his neck, which he may have been using to try and stop the bleeding. None of his stab wounds were instantly fatal, so had he been able to get medical attention, he might have lived. But he didn't have his phone. It was found in a ditch outside the farmer's house, shattered with the battery missing. The knife was a short distance away. And just like that, Ezra went from victim to possible killer. Before we go any further, you have to know that Ezra McCandless was a person who wanted your attention. And if she got it, she was known to play games and stretch the truth to fit the reality she had.
She's somebody that really annoys me out in public. She's somebody that if I know they are purposely trying to get my attention just because they're feeding off of that attention, it's somebody who I don't want to give attention to. And I have such a fantastic way of ignoring people. I don't know. It must be the way I was brought up. I'm able to, like, I could sit in a room with somebody and not even look at them. I'm not even curious to look at them. I have a wonderful amount of self-control, but she is somebody who, you can just tell will say something loud and obnoxious just to see who will look and stare at her.
Had in mind. So let's meet the players in Ezra McCandless's final game. This is Alex Woodworth. She tried casting him in the role of killer rapist, but he's actually her victim. Alex was a highly intelligent, aspiring philosophy professor. He worked as a substitute teacher and part-time barista at a popular coffee shop in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. He's been described as laid back and a generous and loyal friend who loved nothing more than reading and discussing philosophy. He and Ezra and her boyfriend Jason were all friends, but secretly, he was having a more intimate relationship with Ezra. This is Jason Mengel. He was Ezra's boyfriend. When they met, he was 33 and working as a medic for the Army Reserves. The two of them were living together. This is John Hansen. He was Jason's best friend and a mutual friend of Alex. Ezra was also having a secret sexual relationship with him. And not coincidentally, she also tried casting him in the role of rapist at one time. And last but not least is Ezra herself. She wanted to play the role of victim, but couldn't quite pull it off. She's actually the murderer. She was born.
Ezra also is somebody that, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I got a text and I totally forgot what I was going to say. It'll come to me in just a second.
Monica Kay, then later became Monica Carlin. She chose the name Ezra to fit her gender fluidity. At one time, she identified more as a male and thought about changing her pronouns, but decided against it. The name McCandless is a nod to Christopher McCandless. His life is the subject of the book Into the Wild. He's been described as a free-spirited adventurer, and she liked to think of herself as a free-spirited artist.
Okay.
When this
It's come back to me. She is also somebody who, with a little psych knowledge, will turn and use that psych knowledge against you. She's somebody that would study a person, and she would turn things. I would say that she comes from, if she's not borderline personality, she comes from a borderline personality type of family, because that's where I come from, and I'm hyper aware of those type of people.
The story starts, she was 20 years old. All right, so now that you know who's who, here's how these people ended up in this story. In the summer of 2017, Ezra and Jason fell in love. By August, she was living with him in Eau Claire. Around the same time, the two of them met Alex, and the three of them became friends. Alex and Ezra were especially close. By October 2017, their relationship turned sexual, intensely so. On the stand, Ezra talked about encouraging Alex to explore his darker side in the bedroom. Without going into too much detail, she described their sex life as a BDSM relationship, with her acting as the submissive and him as the dominant one. She claimed Alex liked to choke her and often used knives to cut off her clothes. Text messages revealed that she was also having a similar type of relationship with her boyfriend's good friend, John. They exchanged naked pictures and talked a lot about how much she liked it when he tied her up and things like that. The only person she wasn't having that type of relationship with was her boyfriend, Jason. She described the sex with him as vanilla, but in her journal, she wrote this about him: "We share an ancient love, so powerful that it scares us both." Unfortunately, in February 2018, about a month before the murder, Jason saw the very sexual text messages.
And she's the type of person that loved to play up those type of, we had an ancient love. Ours is a love as old as time. Our love can never be extinguished. We can go through many, many a lifetime. She loved to do that kind of BS.
She was exchanging with Alex and John on her phone. When he confronted her about it, Ezra made herself the victim. She said Alex took advantage of her and John raped her. So Jason called the police. In her statement, she said they were both drinking when John allegedly assaulted her and forced her to have sex with him. But when they followed up on her claims, they got a different story. Text messages between Ezra and John before and after made it seem like the sex was consensual. When they interviewed Alex about it, he said Ezra herself had admitted to him that it was in fact consensual, but she regretted sleeping with him when Jason found out. The charges against John were dropped in early March 2018, but the damage was done. Jason broke up with her, and she was forced to move out of his house and back in with her mother in Stanley, Wisconsin. And as the prosecution pointed out in their opening statement, that was not a place she wanted to be. She loved her life with Jason in Eau Claire, and she didn't want to lose it. On March 21st, the night before the murder, a couple of critical things happened. She went to go visit her father, and according to the prosecution, when she left, she took a jagged, large knife with her. The knife. However, when her dad took the stand, he testified that at some point he gave her a knife like the one used in the murder. She kept it in her car in case she had to cut her seatbelt off after an accident or help someone else in an accident. That same night, March 21st, she also had a conversation with Jason. She told him she felt like she'd been taken advantage of by John and Alex, but she was working through it by journaling about her experiences with him. She told him she wanted to share what she was writing with him in an attempt to, quote, get her voice back. He told her that was a bad idea, and if she needed them to read something, she should just email them instead of discussing it in person. But her plan depended on seeing Alex face to face, because it was Alex who she blamed for losing her life with Jason in Eau Claire. He was the one who had told the police and Jason that she was far from a victim when it came to her relationship with him and John. On March 22nd, 2018, the day of, Ezra went to the coffee shop where Alex worked. That was unusual because a month earlier, when Jason had discovered their affair, she sent him a text telling him to forget her name and not to contact her again, which he didn't. There was no communication between them until she showed up out of the blue that day. Later, the police asked her what was so important that she had to see him in person after a month of no contact. She told them she had a heating pad and a bookmark to return to him. But when Jason happened to see her come into the coffee shop that morning, he thought something seemed off. He was worried. So he followed her to Alex's house on his bike. He paced.
So she has this all set up the day of all of this where, she's going to cut ties, but she has to have this grand finale exit with Alex. Jason says, I don't think this is a good idea, but no, she's going to do it. So there is this coffee shop that she doesn't work at, but she hangs out at. Her boyfriend works there and Alex works there. And of course, so she shows up on that day. Let's pop over to this next creator and they're going to tell us what happened at Racy's on that day.
Racy's, drinking a cup of joe and browsing the internet, when all of a sudden, Ezra appears in the coffee shop. Jason is caught off guard, as he was not expecting to see her so soon following the move. But Ezra appeared to have other plans in mind. Jason also notices that Ezra has a scary look in her eye. So he approaches her and says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Ezra replies, "Oh, I'm just here to see Alex. We're going to hang out and talk about things, and I just want to show him some art that I've done, and that I'm back to being my old self." She then leaves, hops in her car, and drives over to Alex's house. At this point, Jason is growing increasingly concerned, as he was aware just how upset Ezra was with Alex less than 2 weeks prior. He also felt that her demeanor was very intense. So as Ezra headed on her way to Alex, Jason decided that he should hop on his bike and ride over to Alex's himself to monitor the situation from a distance. In an unlucky turn of events, a janitor witnessed Jason riding his bike around Alex's building and felt that he looked suspicious, so he called 911. Officers quickly arrived on the scene, which gives us an inside look into exactly what happened during those moments.
You said they saw you park your bike over here?
Yeah.
And then walk over there, look around in that car. Do you know that person that lives there?
It's my girlfriend's car, or my
Okay.
ex-girlfriend. We're kind of in a situation, and when she talked to me this morning, I was worried because the guy that lives there is involved in an assault case that she's with, or
I mean, she's the victim of?
she's the victim of an assault that happened, and when she went to him for consolement, I was gone on military orders.
Okay.
She went to him to talk to him about stuff, and then he kind of took advantage of her too, and she wanted to talk to him, I think, today about some stuff, and I was paranoid because she had like fire in her eyes.
Okay.
So
Who's the girlfriend?
Ezra McCandless.
Okay.
I was just worried because, like,
Was the door standing open over there when you got there on the car?
I knocked like 3 times. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear a scuffle or anything. So knock, yelled, opened the door, and I heard her say, "Let him help you. Let him help you." So then I said, "Hey, is everything okay? Is everyone all right now?" I mean, I'm a medic in the military, so, like, I was paranoid. I was paranoid that someone was going to do something irrational.
Okay. And they're in the house on the corner here, or?
Yeah, they're on. I think they're fine though. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
I just saw the door to the car was standing open too.
Yeah, I wanted to turn her car off. Her car was running, so that's why I was like worried because it was.
So this is Jason, her boyfriend, who is worried that something is going to happen to Ezra because Ezra has now gone over to Alex's house and they're inside Alex's house. Jason has called the police and he's standing outside talking to the police because he's worried for Ezra.
Was running, and I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay?
Okay. Do you have any ID with you?
Yeah. I don't think he's dangerous, but I don't know.
Do you know what his name is?
Alex Woodsworth.
Okay.
I think it's Woodsworth or Woodsworth.
2018.
Okay. You can go over by your bike.
It's one of those unique cases where the police were called just hours before
Everything
the
okay
person was
here?
unalive.
Okay. Somebody called us kind of worried because they saw Jason come over here and he was
Gabby
going in the
Petito
car.
was another one.
They weren't
that
sure what was going on.
No,
No.
everything's fine.
Everything's fine? Okay. Do you guys have any ID with you? Just
Yeah.
I got to write a report here that I came over and talked with you guys. They were just a little worried because they saw the car running over here and they weren't sure what was going on and all that jazz.
Sorry for all this, like.
It's okay. It's okay. I'd rather come here and check and it be nothing than have something bad happening.
The officers feel that the situation warrants no further police involvement, so after checking everybody's identification, the officers head on their way. The eeriest part of this footage is that Jason can be seen entering the frame and having his final conversation with Alex before the second police cruiser drives off. This is the last moment that Alex Woodworth was seen alive. Less than 24 hours later, as Ezra McCandless lay in a hospital bed, officers had just discovered Alex's body, and so they now had more questions for Ezra. Conveniently, parts of Ezra's memories start to come back, and Ezra states that while Alex was driving, Alex pulled a knife on her and grabbed her left arm. He then used the knife to cut the word boy into it.
He started like carving something into my arm. He used to call me like boy a lot and stuff like that. And I was just kind of like, I don't really identify that way anymore.
Ezra told the officer that she used to strictly identify as a boy. And when Alex heard that she used to do so, he really latched on to that idea. Sometimes he would even get a bit pushy, asking her to continue doing so. The officers then looked over the wound on Ezra's arm and realized fairly quickly that the story wasn't adding up. She claimed that Alex was sitting in the driver's seat while she was in the front passenger seat. He then used his right arm to grab her left arm and begin carving. If that was the case, it would only make sense that Ezra's arm was extended while Alex made these cuts. That would result in the word boy being flipped. Officers then confronted Ezra and asked if she made that injury to herself.
You didn't do that to you, did you? You carved the boy into your own arm. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost as if this confrontation rebooted her memory, Ezra is now full of details regarding what happened. She begins to tell her story, claiming that after the two pulled over in the field, they ended up in the back of the car. While hanging out in the back, Alex made a move on her. When Ezra did not reciprocate, Alex pulled out the knife.
He started cutting my pants open and stuff, and I didn't know what to do. And it was really scary. He just kept trying to attack me, and I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
And it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Ezra then stated that she grabbed the knife by its blade with extreme grip, managed to get the knife out of Alex's hand, and then did whatever she had to do to defend herself and get the hell out of there.
He just kept trying to grab me in the back of the car, so I just started to defend myself as fast as I could.
You said you had the knife. Where were you cutting him?
I just was going anywhere and everywhere I could.
Okay.
He just kept grabbing me and grabbing me and grabbing me.
Ezra was eventually taken to the police station to finish providing her statement, at which time she detailed the entire sequence of events as she remembered them. Her story was starting to get a little bit twisted.
Where's the first place you think you stabbed him?
I think the first place I stabbed him was in the head.
Okay. Okay, and then walk me through the order you think you stabbed him.
I think I stabbed him in the head, and then he just kept grabbing me and grabbing me.
Okay.
So I think I stabbed him.
If you do that to somebody 16 times, I would imagine that that's a rage thing, and that you're not going to remember each of the 16 times and where it happened. I'm guessing.
In like this leg by the genital region, and then the stomach and the sides and stuff like that. And then I remember stabbing in this region inside the chest and neck region, and then
Was that outside the car?
that was inside the car. And then I fell because my shoes fell off because I was kicking and everything, and he got out of the car. And then he went to grab me again, and I stabbed him like the side by the ribs and stuff. And then it's like after that I just couldn't breathe, and I just started breathing and breathing and breathing. And it just got really dark and scary. And I woke up and I peed my pants and everything, and I didn't know what was going on, and he was just laying there, so I started running.
Okay. How come you didn't tell me this yesterday when we talked to Ezra?
Because
I hadn't thought of it yet.
It's too scary.
I know it's scary, but we needed the truth, right? See, it's better to come and tell us the truth so we know what happened.
Because it's just so scary and I can't get it out of my head.
No. And we're sorry that you went through this.
And it just keeps replaying and replaying and replaying. I wish it would go away.
Have you talked to any of the doctors about this? What happened?
No.
Okay, well, that's probably going to be a good place to talk. Okay. When you were stabbing him, were you trying to kill him?
I didn't want him to go away.
Okay.
I wanted to go away.
Crime scene analysts quickly determined how they believed the altercation took place, based on the evidence found at the crime scene. The first thing to note is that the majority of blood was found on the ground, outside of the vehicle, which contradicts everything that Ezra states happened inside the vehicle. They also found that Alex had 0 defensive wounds, making it appear as though he was caught off guard entirely when he was stabbed. The amount of wounds found on Alex was also quite excessive, as not only was he stabbed upwards of 15 times, he was also discovered with his genitalia severely mutilated. Another big problem was that Ezra claimed that she grabbed the knife by the blade during Alex's attack and managed to muscle it out of his hands. However, the wounds on Ezra's hands were only superficial, which told the officers that this part of Ezra's story was also highly unlikely. Basically, based on the crime scene combined with Alex's and Ezra's injuries, things were not looking good for Ezra, as investigators quickly believed that this was more than likely a premeditated murder with a poor attempt at covering it up. Following this interview, Ezra McCandless was charged with the first-degree premeditated homicide of Alex Woodworth. Ezra's trial began 18 months later, in October of 2019, and Ezra clearly thought that she was the star of the show. Instead of...
She clearly took this as her fashion show moment. She clearly decided that she no longer identified as a boy. She was very feminine during this trial. It's proof, too, that it seems to me like, well, I mean, it is proof that lawyers know how to dress their clients so that the jury will think one way about them. And she really played into it. She tried to wear these soft pink pastel colors, and she wore her hair really soft and loose and curly, and her makeup was just perfectly done. It was something to see.
Being the same traumatized and broken person that we witnessed throughout most of her police interactions, Ezra now appeared content, calloused, and in a twisted way, even appeared to be a bit proud. Ezra's ex-boyfriend Jason testified during Ezra's trial, and as he approached the bench, Ezra almost appeared a bit flustered by his extravagance. All professionalism went out the window, while she appeared to simply adore his presence, cracking smiles and making awkward, intimate eye contact as he answered his questions.
Is the person you know as Ezra McCandless in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you identify where she's located by just describing an item of clothing, please?
Pink blazer.
During Jason's testimony, Ezra continued...
I can't even hardly stand to look at her. She's somebody that just annoys me just because of her arrogance and how important you can see she thinks she is. She's sitting in a murder trial making goo-goo eyes at the man who was her boyfriend that she cheated on repeatedly with his best friends. It just...
to play her mind games. At one point, she removed her pink blazer, only to reveal a cardigan that Jason had purchased her during their relationship. Jason was dumbfounded, but finished up his questioning. In a shocking and questionable decision by the defense, Ezra is then called to the stand to testify. During her testimony, she displayed absolutely no sign of remorse, guilt, or even grief for the loss of somebody that she once called her boyfriend. Instead, she continued her smiles and answered each question with her chin held high, almost appearing as if she was enjoying herself.
Good morning. Would you state your name and spell it for the record, please?
My name is Ezra McCandless. EZRAMCCANDLESS.
Okay, Ezra, I'm going to ask you to speak really clearly into the microphone because you're soft-spoken.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody can hear you. All right?
All right.
I guess the first question I'm going to ask you is, why Ezra McCandless? Why that name?
Why Ezra McCandless? Well, I have gone through a lot of changes in my life regarding identity and what really fits me. And I tried on a few names, but I found ultimately that Ezra's fit perfectly for who I am.
What was your birth name?
My birth name was Monica J.
And did your name eventually become the last name Carlin?
Yes.
Okay. So why did you decide why you changed your last name?
I changed my last name, not to change my last name because of family sake, but I changed it because of the name McCandless is from an individual named Christopher McCandless from Into the Wild, he's known for. And his love for nature, his philosophies for life they were very in tune and aligned with who I am.
Into the Wild was a very inspirational book for me. I remember when I read it and I loved it. It is inspiring, but she's not even saying it properly.
So I honored him by taking his last name.
And what about, and Into the Wild, just everybody might not know what it is, just in a sentence, tell us.
It's a novel. It's a book he wrote.
I'm going to ask you about meeting Alex.
All right. Yes.
Why don't you tell us how you met Alex Woodworth?
I met Alex Woodworth one night when I noticed him. He was writing alone inside a bar called The Joint. He just seemed very focused, and I thought it was interesting that he was alone amongst all these people, so focused on his writing. Alex and I started slow. We held hands, we hugged, and we shared a few kisses, and then eventually we became partners. I encouraged him to explore himself and things he might want. And we started practicing and doing these new things that he wanted. I took the role of submissive. It turned into what at times could be considered a BDSM relationship.
Was there ever a time back in your relationship in January or February where Alex used a knife when having with you?
Yes, he had cut a pair of my pants.
Ezra's attorney continued down this path of questioning, allowing Ezra to paint a very graphic picture of exactly how she felt Alex's interests progressed. Though the questioning eventually shifted to a darker tone, Ezra's smiley and proud demeanor stayed intact. Ezra's story also slightly changed during her testimony. Now, instead of her grabbing the knife by the blade, she was actually able to free it from his hands with a different technique.
I decided then to knee him in the groin and drops the knife at that point. Instantly, I grabbed the knife. I started stabbing him anywhere and everywhere I could.
What are you trying to do?
I just want to get away. I need to get out of the car. I need to get away as fast as I could.
So why do you keep stabbing him while you're still in the car?
Because he wouldn't let go. He wouldn't let me out. I was terrified.
Several medical experts, including one that specializes in trauma, as well as multiple crime scene analysts, all took the stand to testify regarding the story that the evidence told. To summarize, the prosecution wanted to show the jury that they believed that a heartbroken and revenge-fueled Ezra drove Alex into the middle of that farm property that evening. She then murdered him in cold blood and mutilated his body. She then spent approximately 2.5 hours staging the scene to look as if she was the one that was attacked, cutting her own clothes, covering herself in mud, and even faking several minor injuries. She then took the knife and threw it, took Alex's phone and smashed it, all as she headed on her way to Dawn Sippel's home. That's when her acting chops kicked in. And well, you know the rest. The defense had another story. The defense stood behind Ezra's claims of self-defense, stooping to a new low and destroying Alex's reputation as much as possible. They basically...
I've seen some videos of her being compared to Jodi Arias because she just went on a spree to destroy this guy's reputation. Because I remember this trial caught my attention because they started talking about eating human flesh. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube, but eating human flesh, and that's usually typically something that I will stay away from because it really just grosses me out, and I have a very soft stomach. So the thought of eating humans is really hard for me. But she was one of the first cases that I did manage to get overcome that hurdle, and but she was using it in a way to slander his name. He was using more like wanting to eat human flesh more as a metaphor, not really eating it, like as in if our thoughts and memories are held in our body, and by eating that person you consume their being. But it wasn't a true, he was also a writer and an artist, and she was just somebody like Jodi that just really trashed this guy and his death.
Stated that an aggressive Alex that had gotten a taste for the BDSM lifestyle was ready to take what he wanted from Ezra regardless of whether or not she wanted it. He drove the two to the random location on the farm property, forced Ezra into the back seats, and then started to use the knife against her. cutting off her pants and her sweater. Ezra's amygdala kicked in full blast. Her fight or flight response chose to fight, and she then protected herself at all costs, blaming adrenaline for the extent of the damage that she caused to Alex. She then had an extreme trauma response to what she experienced, and blacked out the 2.5 hours following the incident. The next thing that she remembered was showing up at Dawn Sippel's doorstep. About 2 years following the death of Alex Woodworth, Ezra's trial came to a close, and the jury was sent to deliberation. And after only 3 hours of deliberating, they came back with a verdict. This footage is likely one of the most iconic pieces of content found in the true crime dossier, as the moment that the verdict is read, you can clearly see Ezra's astonished realization that her mind games and manipulations all led to this exact moment in time.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Ezra J. McCandless, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in the information. And the answer to the special verdict question is yes, use a dangerous weapon. And you may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, is this your verdict? All right, I'm going to do what's called polling the jury, and I'm going to ask each of you if this is your verdict. And I'm going to ask you by your juror number.
It's actually perfection, that moment when she is realizing that the show is over. So as you can see, she was found guilty. We're going to go forward and we're going to talk about what she's doing today, where she's at. We're going to look at her socials because her mother is running her social medias. She's selling her art online to fund her appeals, I guess. But over on Reddit, we found what's everyone's opinion on why Ezra unalived Alex. And this person says, I'm just curious on everyone's thoughts and opinions on why Ezra McCandless ended up unaliving Alex that day. Did she come into town knowing she was going to unalive him? She was trying to convince him to go along with whatever crazy narrative she had to try and win Jason back. Did he not go along with it? So she exploded in rage and started to puncture him without premeditation. Dreading did such a good job covering the bread and butter. Yeah, Dreading actually has covered this case and has done like an amazing, amazing job on it. But they do a great job in almost everything they do. But now I want the gravy. I know no one but Monica, and that's her real name, Monica. I mean, Ezra knows why she did what she did, but I'm eager to hear your best guesses. And this one person says she wanted to be attacked to prove she was a victim. She's a perpetual victim. She's much like Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She's a perpetual victim. It was an extension of her lies to Jason about her fidelity. That's it. And a lot of people seem to agree, conjecture. What part is conjecture that you're referring to specifically? Is that some kind of reference, comedic bit, or are you actually going to bat for the convicted murderer? And we do have somebody's page that we're going to look at that is batting for her. Because, there's always people that are going to bat for the convicted murderers. And this person says, I think that makes a lot of really good sense. So do you think it was supposed to be a way to prove she was in fact the victim, but it just went way too far? And then she snapped and jabbed him 17 times, plus annihilated his scrotum as a message. And that stupid and sloppy story was made up on the fly because her car got stuck in the mud and she needed a way. That's another thing. They were stuck in the mud. The car was very stuck in the mud. And she needed a way to get to the hospital and call Jason ASAP. And so she could play victim. And even though he dumped her for good this time in her tiny lunatic crazy brain, she thought she had him eating out of her hands again, and they'd run off into the sunshine together, because that's how I feel about this. So there are so many nooks and crannies to this case that I'm never going to be able to cover it tonight. So a lot of this we would have to look into if we decide that this is one of the trials we want to follow during Live Miss. What are your thoughts on why would she unalive him? She got life. Yep, it has Jodi Arias written all over it. Sorry you guys aren't feeling good, but I hope it sounds like, well, I know Chris is back tonight, so I know she's not 100%, but I'm glad that you guys are at least healing and that maybe you'll get this out of the way before, if you celebrate Christmas, before Christmas gets here. Well, where is Ezra McCandless now? Details explored ahead of snapped women who schmurder on oxygen. Ezra McCandless, a Wisconsin resident, was found guilty of the 2018 homicide of her ex-boyfriend. And they call him her ex-boyfriend, but it wasn't her ex-boyfriend. It was her ex-boyfriend's friend. In November, she was convicted of first-degree intentional murder and was sentenced to life in prison on February 7th, 2020. As per prison records, Ezra McCandless is currently incarcerated at I don't know. I'm gonna kill the murder that I'm or pun intended. I'm not gonna be able to say this. Taycheedah Correctional Facility located in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. The episode of Snapped Women Who Schmurder, season 34, episode 18, will focus on the heinous crime committed by Ezra. The particular episode that will focus on the case is titled Ezra McCandless and will air on Oxygen on November 10th, 2024. Oh, so this just happened. As per reports by CBS on March 22nd, 2018, Alex was unalived by Ezra. A day after Alex was schmurdered, his body was located hanging out from McCandless's car. She alleged that Alex had carved the word boy into her hand while attacking her. However, later in the investigation, all the injuries were found to be self-inflicted. Let's see. Although she claimed she unalived Alex in self-defense, the prosecution and the jury didn't find her story convincing enough. All the evidence pointed towards her, starting from the self-inflicted wounds to trying to lure the police officers away from the scene of the crime so that they did not find Alex Woodward's dead body for a few days. She has a chance of parole, looks like, after 50 years. We have a conversation. She is online selling her artwork. I have her Instagram and her Facebook. But back over on Reddit, there's a conversation going on about it. This is former art student Ezra McCandless, who was sentenced to life in prison for unaliving an ex-boyfriend. Is she the ultimate BPD art hoe? What is BPD art hole? Art. What does that mean? BPD. Is that the name of her thing? This reminds me of this girl. The whole trans angle she tried to spin on this and etching the word boy into her arm after. See, that's another thing. She like trans issues were really popular, were really coming to a forefront in 2018. So she's like, yeah, I'll just pick this this angle to use because I think she thought they wouldn't question her, because I think in the past she's one of those delusional people that has gotten away with so many lies that she just thought she could just lie and it would be like perfectly acceptable. We have her artwork here, Dirt Fiend. Her art isn't even that good. I mean, it's just somebody behind bars doing art, like it's no better than any other artist. But let's go in and we'll take a little look, see what she's doing. But I mean, she's got tons and tons of art, so somebody's buying her art supplies. She also fancies herself a writer. Think this was her page before she went behind. This was her hipster page before, so this is the kind of stuff she was doing during her racy days. And this is the type of artwork that she will do. Is that one with flies? Interesting. So this is some of the artwork. And in doing the research, I found this person says, Cleo Palka says, Ezra J. McCandless is a survivor, a fighter, and a dear friend of mine, but they are also an artist. So she's going by they instead of not. Her pronouns are they. All of the art you see here are fragments of who they are, self-portraits of a sort in pen and paper, placed in a situation no person should have to face, resilient in their battle against injustice for freedom. Ezra is selling these beautiful works of art with all proceeds going towards an appeal with a higher court. With the holidays coming up, consider a gift that a loved one will cherish. They will also serve a higher purpose, a gift that has the ability to offer Ezra their chance to be heard, their chance to overcome injustice, their chance at freedom. If you would like to learn more about who Ezra is or see more of their art available for purchase, please visit their page at Dirt Fiend. There is a link in their bio with a message directly from them to those that wish to know more. There you will find Ezra's words, heart, and ultimately the truth. All art is created by and posted with explicit permission from Ezra J. McCandless themselves. Ooh, the star herself. We stand unwavering in the truth. Let me go back over to Ezra's page, and where is some of her writing? This was something she wrote on 8/14/23. The uncertainty I continue to face is a hard weight to describe. At times, it grips me completely. Sometimes waking me up in the middle of the night, paralyzing my thoughts, trapping them in fear of the odds and battles I must face. She also reminds me of Sarah Boone with her writing. She likes to throw in just words, like word vomit. Blech. This is a delicate, complex fight. It's often treacherous ground to cover, and the unknown is a part of every step. It would be unrealistic to not feel some terror. It would be diluted ignoring the realities that come with this journey. The fear found in this uncertainty is a powerful force. It would easily silence an individual fire to continue. I live with this unknown every day. It has become an unwanted companion as I press forward and strive for better. Allowing it to consume me is not an option for who I am as an individual. Letting this circumstance define me is not something I could ever accept. Even as I sweat through the endless string of worry, it's crucial to maintain my resolve, standing strong in the truth. Making the choice to thrive during all of this is necessary and so important to who I've always been. I have family, love, friendship, and endless support that fuels each step. Weary, hopeful, filled with fire, I press on. Whatever. I press on. On I must press. And I mean, Lizard King, ugh. Does she fancy herself Jim? She likes to do watercolor painting, you can tell. I don't see any prices, though. And I also don't see any comments. So I can't give you that, but we can go over to Facebook, and she's over here on Facebook. And we do have a quick, like, 2-minute update of what she looks like now. But over here, we have her, as noted earlier, I will no longer be on here due to obvious legalities brought on by external third parties. So obviously someone has stopped her. Thank you again to everyone who supported me. You can still write to me via postal mail. Info is here. Please be aware that all mail is carefully inspected via trained drug sniffing dogs, x-ray machines, and forensic lab testing. So please limit to just paper and letters. I love everyone. Bye. Here's my address. So obviously she has been taken off the internet. Somebody figured it out. This is her latest mugshot. How is she dyeing her? How do they dye their hair in prison? I wonder. And here is an update 11 months ago.
Convicted in 2020 for killing her ex-boyfriend, has filed to have her case appealed again. You'll likely remember it was just in the last month that a Dunn County judge ruled she would not get a new trial. Now, lawyers for McCandless are taking the case to the state appeals court. McCandless was sentenced to life in prison back in 2020 for the stabbing death of her ex-boyfriend, Alex Woodworth. Her lawyers have maintained that the trial was compromised. They say her interviews with police were done illegally and should be excluded from a new trial. If they can convince 2 of the 3 appeal court judges that McCandless' rights were violated, she could get a new trial or a hearing.
So, and that is the latest update on her. Let me make sure I popped us through everything. Oh, I thought this was interesting too. I'm going to come over into chat and talk about this a little bit more. I thought this was interesting. Are there any infamous murder victim social media pages still online? Because in seeing Ezra online, I was just, I started to think like who else is online besides her? And of course, Reddit asks the question. Forgive the morbid curiosity. I have seen Shanann Watts' Facebook page as well as Dee Dee Blanchard, respectfully, of course. Are there any others out there still? It seems like such an intimate way of seeing what a person portrayed themselves as before death or before they were unalived. And then in looking, somebody says Sheila Edie, one of the 2 teenage girls who unalived Skylar Niece, still has her Twitter page up. April Beavers, who was unalived by her 2 sons, was a Reddit user. That some of the Turpin kids Those were the kids that were held hostage by their parents. They have, well, I mean, yeah, they're victims of crime. Yes. So they have TikTok, and Jordan Turpin comes to mind. Let's see who else. Not serial unalivers necessarily, but the Heaven's Gate website is still up and running and has a staff at least one person. This is something I would actually like to do a show in itself, and going to true crime cases that still have pages up around the internet. Heaven's Gate was the cult that thought that the comet, well, I forget the name of the comet. There was a comet that was going to come through and take them out, and they all unalived themselves. Elisa Lam. Oh yeah, we did Elisa Lam. She was the Cecil Hotel, was found in the Cecil Hotel's water tower. We did take a quick look at her page. She had some writing. She was a writer. Skylar Neese again. Elliot Rogers' YouTube is still active, someone is saying. Luca Magnata. Oh yeah, the cat. Don't mess with cat. Oh, but he's still posting stuff. Here it says someone discovered that Luca Magnata posts shit all over the internet from prison. The Twitter of the younger of the two Boston Marathon bombers is still up. We just looked at Ezra. Her Instagram is still up. Adam Lanza's Tumblr. So I thought this was like a really, Jodi Arias's MySpace is still up. So there are a lot of, this could be a segment in itself if this is something that you guys are interested in, which I'm very interested in. So I'm secretly hoping that you say, yes, I'm very interested in that. And I actually also am hoping that this is a case that you want me to continue down the path. So what do you guys think about this case? Crazy, I know. You are. She looks like she's just fine in there. She seems like a danger. Like she does seem very, very dangerous in my opinion. But of course she's fighting to get out because, I mean, she's a narcissist that is obviously one of those schmurderous narcissists. That's terrifying. So okay, guys, let me make sure that I showed you everything I wanted to show you really quick. And I know I wrote down a few show notes. Upcoming on more of our live mess, we have Thursday, we're going to be covering the Gypsy Rose case with that girl from TikTok. She's got the inside scoop with proven research. We're gonna look over the tale of the two Dans. Why did she allow us to think it was the wrong Dan for so long? We're gonna look at the house situation. Saturday, we're going to be doing another live with Robert from Timeless Mysteries, and we're going to be talking about the Watts case. I have some stuff to discuss about Chris Watts possibly harming other children and the girls prior to unaliving them. Sunday on Highly Strange Days, we have Dysfunctional Cutie joining us, and we're going to be talking about Dee Dee Blanchard and her magic addictions. Some of the trials that I want to cover during Live Miss, I want to look at Julia Enright. We're going to look at the Ezra McCandless and the Daryl Brooks. And if there's anything that you think you want me to cover during this time, feel free to email me at parawomenradio@gmail.com. And yeah, that's all I have for tonight, you guys. Day 4 of Live Miss is in the can. Thank you so much, Chris C. and Heavenly, for being my mods tonight. I love all of you. Billy, I don't know if I've seen you before, but no, because Chris C, you're friends with Chris C. So yes, any friend of Chris C is a friend of ours. Paula, it's so good to see you. And Billy, we hope to see you back. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. If nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you this. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomen Radio. I'm Amy.
Carefully strumming this old guitar, words rolling out into the fire. Never ask why my heart burned blue. Here in the haze where you inspire me. Here in the darkness I hear my cue. Time to find some solitude. Here where my soul bleeds openly, deep in the heart of sin and you. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you. Carefully strumming this old guitar again, words rolling out